Well, good Monday morning and welcome to another edition of Monday Mornings with Mark, the Stewardship Coach. I'm Mark Brooks and I'm your Stewardship Coach, and I'm excited to bring another live session to a lot of people. First, to our members who follow me. Thanks for listening in, for tuning in live. I'm glad to have you part of our Stewardship Coach family. This is what I do for our members every week. We have group teaching time Monday mornings at 11 o'clock. It's called Monday Mornings with Mark, the Stewardship Coach. Every once in a while, we open it up to the general public, and this is one of those days, and I'll kind of explain to you why in just a minute, because we've got a special guest with us. When I have special guests, a lot of times I like to do that. Hey guys, if you've not been following me, this is the first time you've landed here, watch this webinar. Here's the information about how you can connect with all that I do. The best way, I always say, on this page is my email address is mark@acts17generosity.com. I answer every email pretty quickly. I always used to say, unless I'm on the road in an airplane. I haven't been on the road, haven't been in an airplane in quite a while, so I'm pretty good about answering your emails these days. One of the best ways to keep track of the things that I'm doing is to follow me on Twitter. I'm Stewardship Man. The S and the M are capitalized. That way you will be able to find all of the tweets, and when I post something for the partners that I write for or my own blog post, you can find that and get the helps that you need. So excited about having all of you with us here for this special Monday morning with Mark, the Stewardship Coach. And again, thank you for the members who follow me, and for those of you who are listening in today, we're glad to have you. And I'll kind of explain a little bit later how you maybe learn more about what we're doing. Hey guys, today we've got I think an important webinar, because one of the things that I'm finding that a lot of churches are thinking about, are moving towards as we work our way through this coronavirus, is outsourcing. So we're going to talk about COVID-19 giving, because I always, we sort of review from our clients the things that we have been doing, best practices, how to manage your way through this. We'll talk about that in a minute. We're going to talk about why outsourcing, what I think are some three primary real key things that are going to be helpful to you. And then I'm going to introduce you to my new friend, Rusty Faulks, and he's going to be sharing with you the things that he can do to help you, particularly in the area of figuring out all this stuff that's coming down. I mean, good news is a lot of you've gotten help from the Paycheck Protection Plan. Now you got to figure out, okay, how do we work through that? And that's where I think outsourcing can really help us. And then, as always, for members, there's a Q&A time at the end. I'm going to stop the recording when we get to that point in time. So if you want to have that opportunity to ask questions, become a member. It's not real difficult. In fact, it just costs $99 a month. We can talk to you about how to become a part of what we do and get all that I offer, all the writing, all the teaching, everything. And I think it'd be beneficial to you. Guys, just to review, this is our three-pronged strategy as we move through the coronavirus. It is caution, compassion, and sustainability. Initially, we talked about caution, and we kind of moved away from that when we went into, the more sequestered mode where we're doing live stream. We talked about compassion, that as the church, we want to minister to our community, because when we do that, when the church leads, we've earned the right to make the ask. And you have to be thinking the sustainability of your church and your ministry. And you've got to be thinking 30, 60, 90, 120 days out. How do we plan? What are the things that we need in place to assure our sustainability? Your mission to your community is too important for you to fail. There are too many lives at stake. And so we've got to think through those sort of infrastructure things. And that's where guys like me come into play to coach you through, to help you with the various questions and issues that you're faced with as we try to work our way through this minefield that lays out in front of us. And so now we've moved back more into the caution mode, because you're thinking about reopening, what plans and those kinds of things. And today I was on a long call with one of my clients as we were working through those issues: who's taking temperature, who's guarding the bathrooms, all of those kinds of things that you've had to deal with. That's where we're at now. That's our three-pronged approach: caution, compassion, sustainability. If we think about those three aspects moving forward, we believe that you can continue to be successful, and that's my goal as your stewardship coach, to help you through that. Hey, here's a screenshot of today's newsletter. I think it's an important one, because let me begin branching out and helping you think through your digital giving plan, your platform, your strategy. So this edition is called the Digital Giving Strategy, where I begin to lay out some basics of how you use online giving effectively. It's not enough just to have the tool. We've got to know how to use it effectively. This newsletter, by the way, goes out every week to our members. Right now, we're offering it at $9.99 a month or $99 a year. If you want to have more information about that, you can give me an email. I'll look back with my email contact information at the end. But in this edition of the Stewardship Coach is where I have a print interview with Rusty, and we're going to be kind of building on what we put in print to talk to you more specifically about the things that Rusty can bring to the table for us. So let me begin by first just talking about why you ought to outsource. Well, first of all, it saves you money, because what you've learned now is there's some things you staff for that you are doing without that staff person. Do you really need to bring that staff person back? I'm not asking to fire anybody, but I'm just saying some things can be done with an outside partner outsourcing this, and it ends up saving you money. It helps you avoid mistakes, because what you do with outsourcing is you outsource to those who have areas of expertise in areas that you don't have, would be a better way of saying it. And so it can really, really help you out. And guys, it's just going to save you time. And so why are you so consumed with HR, human resources issues, when you could easily engage with somebody outsource-wise that could handle all that for you? Take that pressure off your plate so that you can get back to ministry and doing the things God's called you to do. That's what I do for you from the giving standpoint. What I want to introduce to you today is my friend Rusty, and we're going to talk about how he might be able to help you from an HR standpoint in your church. So Rusty, I hope you're there, brother. It's good to have you coming on. I appreciate your time to share with my client base just a little bit about Windwood Partners and your background. I know you've worked with a lot of the leading Christian organizations in your time, so we're glad to have you a part of our webinar today and looking forward to sharing with us. So Rusty, welcome to Monday Mornings with Mark, the Stewardship Coach. How are you, brother?
Hey, thank you, Mark. Good to be here, and we're doing well today. Just a little bit about me and my background. So I've been an HR director for almost 25 years, and been in HR for over 30 years. But essentially, I was head of HR at Thomas Nelson Publishing for a number of years. I've been at Samaritan's Purse in International Relief Organization in North Carolina for a number of years, for 9 years, and then I was director of HR at Lifeway Christian Resources as well. So we basically offer now, I've set up a fractional HR service. We provide human resources solutions to churches and nonprofits and for-profit organizations, and we do it on a fractional basis. So essentially, someone would come along, they would bring us on board as a director level HR person on a very limited basis during the course of the year, and then we can work to help both with compliance matters, with specific projects, with setting up things like we're going to talk about today, this whole COVID-19 emergency paid leave.
Yeah, and that's good. We want to flesh into that. And you kind of, as you were talking about fractional, I thought I was writing down, okay, you're asking about fractional. You kind of explained that a little bit, but can you break that out for us? Because I really think it's a great idea, and it's something that I think churches can take advantage of. A lot of times, though, we don't know about. So to explain that fractional part.
So basically what we're talking about is someone, we just work with them. We get to know them through an initial assessment that we do. And then we are hired on an ongoing basis, typically for a minimum of 1 year. And it would be for maybe a half a day a month. It could be for a day a week, as much as a day a week, or as little as a half a day a month. But it's an ongoing agreement. We do it then for a lower cost because we have this ongoing relationship. We get to know the organization. We get to understand more what their issues are. We get into a little bit of a rhythm with regular, just a monthly check-in with designated individuals. And we see some real good coming out of that. And so there's some real value add because we become a little bit more part of the team, and we understand more the flow and the goals and things that are going on.
Right, right. Good, good. And you know, we've talked about this a little bit. I've come down and I told somebody yesterday, or not yesterday, yesterday was Sunday, yesterday work day, the Friday, we were talking about something and they were asking about engaging me. And I said, well, it depends on how much of Mark you want. He said, what do you mean? I said, well, here's how I price myself out. It's always, how much of me do you need? If you don't need much of me, then, you know, that's a low price point. If you need a lot of me, well, that costs you a lot more money. But I think that's where I think a lot of these pastors are looking for was where can I find help that isn't going to cost me an arm and a leg? And I always tell, and I've been doing this for years because essentially I'm the minister of stewardship for a lot of churches. And I said, you know, I'm a cheap date. You don't have to pay my health care, kind of thing.
Yeah,
I got to worry about that myself.
that's a real good point. And, you know, one of the things that I think about too is, you know, our first 30-minute call is free. We want to be very flexible. Good. We want to be very adaptable. And so give us a call, reach out to us at Windwood Partners, and then we'll sit down, we'll talk, and we want to see if there's something that will work. We want win-win solutions. And so we're looking to help our churches and other clients that we have.
Yeah, and guys, I'll have the contact information at the end because I want you to get that because I think it'll make sense as we move through this. Rusty, what really kind of piqued my interest, and I said, hey, can you come on and just kind of talk through with this with my clients? You know, as we start talking, you know, about the Families First Coronavirus Response Act, and we started talking about all these things, and, you know, what do you do when an employee, you know, just doesn't feel like they need to self-quarantine, for instance? So how does that covered? We're walking into an area where, I don't know, you know, and I say this all the time, they didn't teach me this at seminary.
That's true.
You know what I'm saying? And so, guys, I'll tell you what, the other day I was in a conversation with Rusty back and forth, and I said, well, basically, Rusty, I don't even know the questions to ask you. And so here's what I want you to do. What questions should we pastors be asking, and how can you help us? And guys, that's kind of where I was at with dealing with Rusty, because the value he brings to the table is going to become very apparent to you. Because often we don't even know the questions we're asking. And Rusty, I just think a lot of these guys are so overwhelmed because there's so much coming at us right now with regard to the help, but how do we pay that back? How do we navigate through this COVID-19 world that we're in? What are the key things you think that these people need to know, and what do we need to be aware of in terms of moving forward? Does that make sense?
Yeah, that's good. So I think, Mark, what I want to do is I really am going to focus specifically on this Emergency Paid Leave Act, because a lot of the issues right now are, you know, employees know about this, your employers are hearing about this, but at the end of the day, it's got to be implemented, and it's got to be something that's, you know, done in a way that the employer, the churches, they want to make sure they're able to get reimbursement through their refundable tax credits, so that this is not an additional cost on the church. That's one of the.
First, tell me what the Emergency Paid Act is, and then let's move forward. How do we, you know, kind of work through that then?
Good. So what I'm going to refer to the act as is the FFCRA. That's the Families First Coronavirus Response Act, which was passed back in really late February is when it was passed, or really mid-March, and then it became effective on April the 1st. So this is a temporary act that's been passed for 2020 that runs from April the 1st until December the 31st. Every organization with less than 500 employees, including churches and other religious nonprofits, have to comply with this act. It also provides, as I mentioned, reimbursable, refundable tax credits. So it gets paid for through these tax credits, but you have to know what the rules are. There's some documentation that the IRS is managing, and some things like that. So there's a number of days. It basically provides up to 2 weeks of paid sick leave to a specified cap for your employees. And the amount that you get paid is dependent upon the reasons, and I'll mention this in a minute. Then it also provides an addition up to 12 weeks of expanded family and medical leave for up to a specified cap for employees who meet the qualified reason.
Okay.
So we can easily just get into weeds. I really don't want to get into the weeds. I almost would like, I've sent you a few slides that I think I can quickly walk through that maybe.
So you want to focus on this first one then?
Yeah, let's just talk through the slides. In fact, we may go through like the first three pretty quick.
Yeah. Now remember this: a lot of guys are out on a jog right now, and they're listening to this tape delay. They're not going to be listening to, so we kind of walk them through the screens a little bit. This is why you need to be with me live, everybody. But Jeff, go ahead, walk us through. Not Jeff, Rusty. Jeff's one of my pastors on.
Good. And I will just say what is shared here. If there's anything that piques anybody's interest, they say, "Well, this is going to apply to me." Again, contact me. We can talk these things through. Gotcha. So the FFCRA, at its essence, is divided into two parts. One is the emergency paid sick leave. Emergency paid sick leave applies to every employer with less than 500 employees. If you have 2 employees, it applies to you. So, and if you're a church, it applies to you. Everyone is eligible right out of the gate. There's no waiting time. And they're eligible for up to 80 hours of time off, up to 2 weeks of time off, paid leave for COVID-19 related reasons, which I'll mention next. Okay. And it's pro rata for those that are part-time. And the person receives for emergency paid sick leave, it depends. They receive either 100% of their regular pay or 2/3 of their regular pay up to a cap, depending on the reason. And I'll mention that in just a minute. Okay. There are 6 different qualifying reasons for emergency paid sick leave. So now you start saying, good night, this is crazy. So this is why it's good to have someone help you with this.
This is about the point in our conversation last week where I said my clients need you. Go ahead.
Okay, so the second part of the leave is the Expanded Family and Medical Leave Act. If your clients have less than 50 employees, the Family and Medical Leave Act has never applied to them. If they have more than 50, then they understand the Family and Medical Leave Act, FMLA, because they've been using it. But if they have less than 50, then this will be brand new. But everyone, again, is eligible, even if you have just 2 employees. If your employees have been working for you for at least 30 days, and you would be able to get up to 12 weeks of leave, of additional paid time off, paid at 2/3 of the regular rate. But there's only one reason that this qualifies for, and that is due to a school closure or a place of childcare closure. So that's the essence.
Okay.
So if you want to go to the next slide, we can talk about the 6 reasons. I think that'll help clarify some things.
There we go.
So there are 6 qualifying reasons, and the reality is many providers, legal counsel, and even the government, they will refer to these by number. So qualifying reasons number 1, 2, and 3, those all relate directly to the individual employee's own situation. And so qualifying reason number 1 is if someone is subject to a federal, state, or local quarantine or isolation order. Number 2, if you've been advised by a healthcare provider to self-quarantine due to concerns. Number 3, if you're experiencing symptoms and then you're seeking a medical diagnosis. Numbers 1, 2, and 3 are all paid at 100% up to a cap of $511 per day. Mark, if you wanted to interrupt or you have a question that you want me to stop and just pause.
One thing that I thought of, Rusty, people are like, well, how does this relate to me? Well, let's say that your church secretary, her Aunt Millie, who came and visited her over the weekend, has suddenly come down with a coronavirus, and she's got to self quarantine your secretary now for 14 days. I'm assuming that would fit this category, maybe,
Yeah.
right?
Yes.
Okay, good.
So
Good.
that's right. So all of a sudden, I've
And then let me interrupt you one more time. If I'm hearing you right, what that church could do is draw from this fund, and basically they're getting her salary. Is that what I'm hearing you say?
Yeah, but here's so here you get into some of the nuances of it. So now you start opening up what are the cans of worms behind this, because number one, they have to be unable to work. If you have your church secretary and they've been advised by a healthcare provider to self-quarantine, but they've got a computer at home and they can do all their work from home, that does not apply to them.
Wow.
You cannot get a tax credit for that person.
Okay.
So you have to know, and that person has to be unable to work.
Gotcha.
So there are plenty of people who their job, let's say a janitor has to be at the church to do their job.
There you go. Yeah.
But if they cannot, so if they've been advised to stay home, they can't do their job, then you would be required to pay them. Now,
good illustration. Good
now
job.
let me give you another illustration. This is a real one. Employee's wife worked in a healthcare situation. She was exposed to COVID. The employee decided, and the employer decided, I don't want you coming in right now.
Sure.
So you stay home for the next 14 days. Unless that employee has been advised by a healthcare provider, you can't get the tax credit for that.
Wow.
So just because the spouse, you still have to go through this step, and you have to know that. Otherwise, down the road, you may be dealing with the IRS saying, well, who's the healthcare provider that advised this? Versus you being trying to be a good steward, and your employee trying to be very self-conscientious, just making a self-diagnosis that isn't going to work.
Yeah. Hey, Rusty, one thing too, and our problem is always time limits, and you and I both talk about, we don't want to go 30 minutes past, and we're at 11:23 on the hour. So I don't want to hurry you, but I know there's other things we want to get to. And again, I just say, guys, listen to what he's saying. This is landmine stuff, but it's easy stuff for somebody like you to catch and pick up. What are some other areas we need to? Because again, I think these are crucial things for us.
Let me mention the other three qualifying reasons, and we'll jump forward a slide, I think.
Good. Okay.
So caring for an individual who's subject to either a quarantine or they've been advised to stay home. Again, just because you're staying home with someone, if you're staying home with an elderly parent, well, does that keep you from doing your work? Can you telework? I mean, there's a big question. Can you telework? If the person can do that, you can't. That doesn't count. Caring for a son or daughter whose school or place of care has been closed or child care provider is unavailable. Again, is there someone suitable to care for that child? I mean, that's the question. And a husband and wife can't together say, we're going to both stay home and care for this child. We'll overlap so we can take a walk in the middle of the day. You can't both get credit. Only one of you can get the credit for the time caring for the child. Why don't you move on ahead? Let's go to, by the way, the last reason was for substantially similar situations that are related, that the Health and Human Services has identified. They really haven't identified any of those yet. That's a minor nuance, number 6. But for reasons number 4, 5, and 6, you only can have up to 2/3 pay at up to $200 cap per day. So there's 2 things that you're always got to be calculating. You got to know you're calculating on this slide is the amount of leave that a person can take. How do you determine that? And I can explain that, and I won't go into that now. And then the amount of pay. How much do you actually pay that person? Because you've got your caps, you've got your 100%, you've got your 2/3, and there's also, well, they worked overtime, or well, we paid an incentive last month, or whatever. So you have to figure that out. What's the amount of pay that they get? Why don't you go forward? Go to another slide. So one of the important things that the IRS is tracking this. So the Department of Labor Wage and Hour Division is managing all the other, but the IRS is managing the part of the tax credit and documenting why this person is being paid through these reimbursable tax credits. So there is some requirements that the IRS has laid out, and it's very simple. It's not bring me a doctor's note signed by the doctor. It is give me the employee's name, the date for the leave, the qualifying reasons for the leave, and an oral or written statement that the employee is unable to work or telework because of that qualifying reason for the leave. It has to be COVID related. Let me give you an example on that. You have a son or daughter who's been out of school. They're in elementary school, and the mother or the father has been caring for them, let's say 5 hours a day, 4 hours a day. They've been working from home 4 hours a day. So you've been paying them for 4 hours of this COVID-related leave because they've been home from school, and they've been homeschooling them, helping them with their schoolwork. When the school is out and now summer starts, and so you don't have a place to send them in the summer, it's not COVID related. This is just normal summer stuff. The COVID related reasons end when the school season ends. So again, there's nuances on this, is what I'm telling you. It's got to be COVID related. I'll leave it at that. Move forward. So, and then if you get into these other, depending on the qualifying reason, there's some additional documentation, very simple, like if there's an isolation order, a stay-at-home order, you just need to name the government entity. If you have a healthcare provider advising you, name of the healthcare provider, et cetera. If your son or daughter is home from school because the school's been closed, name of the child, name of the school, and you have to represent that there's no other suitable person to care for that child.
Gotcha.
Go on to the next slide. So bottom line is, this is the last slide. The next steps, listen, everybody is required. You should be complying right now with the employer notice requirements. That is out on the DOL website through Wage and Hour Division. Mark, I can send you those links if that would be helpful for you to share with your audience. But
and that's something I'm going to share at the end. I'm going to share Rusty's contact information so that you can contact him. But easy way, if you forget all that, guys, is just email me, and I'll have all of these and links, and we can forward it to him. So that's a good word, Rusty.
So bottom line is, you need to have sent it out. You have to have the notice posted. You should have sent it out by email, especially if you have people that are working from home. You need to know what you're going to use for your policy. And again, the DOL has some good forms out there that you can use. I can help you with that.
Okay.
You need to know about your documentation when you have someone who qualifies for one of these reasons, and what are your steps that you're going to take to claim your reimbursement, because that's, at the end of the day, you need to have this paid for. So this isn't an extra drain on you, the employer.
Right.
So, stay flexible in all of this. The intent of this is to provide for employees in the midst of this COVID crisis.
Yeah. So I think that's the good news. There is help out there, guys, that can help you from a budgetary standpoint, with some of these things. You've already seen. This is why I said you got to come on and talk my folks through this, because man, this is there's a lot of things out there that we're not going to think about if we're not trained in this. And Rusty, again, I just think this is a great ministry and tool that churches can benefit from. Guys, here on the screen, I've got Rusty's contact information. His email address is rfaulks. Am I saying that right? Your last name right?
Yeah, you got it.
It's Faulks, so it's rfaulks, and it's at windwoodpartners.com. And if you're seeing this, you can get this. But Rusty, I don't know, I grabbed that phone number off your website. Is that your personal? Is
That's
that the
good.
company? Okay.
No,
Here's the
that's, yeah,
phone number, guys.
that's my cell phone. That's my cell
Okay.
phone, and that's a good number.
All right. If you're listening, it's 615-719-2198, or again, rfalks@windwoodpartners.com. And I'm sure he can answer any of your questions. The website is windwoodpartners.com as well. And you can go to the website, get some information there. Rusty, I appreciate you coming on, and hopefully this will spur some interest with some people. And again, I like the fractional idea, because I always say to churches, I can figure out a way to make a win-win. I gotta put baloney on the table, but I understand that churches have got budgets they've got to be aware of, particularly now as we work through this. I just thought this was a wonderful plan and idea, and there's just a lot of complexities out there that we need some help in. So Rusty, thanks for the time that you've given to us this morning and sharing briefly. I can see we need guys like you at the table. So I appreciate your work and your ministry, and I pray that we'll see some folks turn your way as a result of this.
Thank you, Mark. I appreciate it. And my only parting thought is just to be erring on the side of generosity and just stay open, stay flexible. And I think employers will be paid back in spades with employees who are attracted to just work and stay with you, and they know you really care for them. So I'm here to help if needed.
So Rusty, stay put. We're going to open up for our members the question and answer time. As we do that, let me just remind then all of you who are watching, kind of free. This is our Monday Mornings with Mark, is my teaching time, group teaching time for the clients that follow me. If you want to know more information about me, follow me on Twitter. It's the easiest way to keep abreast of what I've got going on. It's Stewardship Man. The S and the M are capitalized. I alluded to our newsletter. If you want more information about that, you can email me at mark@acts17generosity.com. It's $9.99 a month or $99 for a year subscription. It's the prescription of how to stay fully funded, I can tell you that much. And then if you want to become a member, you can get all my manuals and plans, the newsletter, as well as access to this webinar, which weekly we teach on some aspect. We only make it open to the public when we're doing something like this, where we're bringing somebody from the outside in. We think it adds value to the church in general. But all of my clients get this. And then at the back end, we're getting ready to move into the Q&A time. Members, is their time where they have an opportunity to engage and ask me any kind of question they want related to stewardship. Now today, obviously, we're going to have time for Jeff to answer questions from the members. So if you want to become a member, that's what we do. $99 a month is the plan. You get all of my tools, all of my coaching. Guys, who has for you been asking the question, how's this going to impact giving? That's the question I started asking early on and started helping my clients navigate through this COVID crisis. And that's the kind of help that we can give you. So thanks for being a part of this special edition of Monday Mornings with Mark, the Stewardship Coach. We look forward to you engaging with us down in the future. So we're going to stop the recording. We'll move into our Q&A time for our members. For the rest of you, thanks for listening in on this webinar.